Hey everybody, and welcome to the live show. Doing it today's Sunday. I'm off tomorrow, flying to Toronto, have some meetings, and also I'm going to be there for press day for the Canadian International Auto Show, or the Toronto Auto Show, which is coming up later this week. My shirt looks like I'm getting fatter, which I probably am. Fresh back from Portugal. Oh, put a pin in it. Where's my pin? There it is. Now, I've been to Lisbon before, but I don't think I ever put a pin in the map. So there you go, Lisbon. Portugal, by the way, is absolutely gorgeous. So I can't wait to go back there with the family and tour around, especially when the weather is a little bit warmer in the summer. But even in, first week of February, highs of around 20 degrees or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so what's going on? Yeah, big news last week. I hope you saw it with the announcement on the channel. Now joined the Motoring TV crew. For those that are not aware, who don't live here in Canada, I've been the host of Driving TV across the country on Global TV, National Automotive Review Show for 17 seasons. Motoring TV is in its 32nd season. And so I'm going and joining that group as one of the hosts and cast members. So make sure you watch. That's on TSN, the sports network, every week. And it gets repeated a lot on TSN as well. All right. What else is going on? Just over a week from now, and a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, heading to Las Vegas to drive the new Corvette. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then back here in the Whistler area, driving the Atlas Sport Cross. And then home for the weekend, then off to Geneva for the motor show, the Geneva Motor Show. And then at the end of March, after we take spring break, going to drive the Audi e-tron Coupe, which you've probably seen advertised on the award shows. And speaking of award shows, it's Oscar night tonight. So I think the movie that is going to win is Parasite. I don't know if you've seen Parasite. It's the South Korean film, and it is unbelievable. What a crazy movie. I don't want to say anything about it because I don't want to spoil it. But if you have a chance to see Parasite, now it's got it's Korean with English subtitles. It's easy to read along if you've never been to a movie with subtitles. But what a great movie. Unbelievable. Probably one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. All right, into the questions here. I bought winter tires, which is not the same as the OEM recommended size. It's same radius, but a bit thicker. So that's why my speedo doesn't sit on 0. Should I be concerned about wrecking my engine? So what you need to do is whenever you change the wheels and tires on your car, if you're not sure about, they call it +1 sizing, type in tire calculator and you'll be able to see what you want is the overall circumference of the wheel and tire to be the same size, or it can affect the speedometer. Now, the issue you would have of hurting your engine or all-wheel drive system is if you had different wheels on the front axle versus the rear axle, and it was all-wheel drive, that could definitely affect the all-wheel drive system. Having a different size wheel and tire on would only really affect your speedometer, but please make sure that the wheels are the same on all 4, okay? That's the only thing you need to check. And if you're not sure, type in tire calculator and put in the original size tire and the tire you have and see if they're compatible. Hey Zach, I know you went to Portugal to drive the Porsche 718 GTS 4.0. Any thoughts about it? Is the 718 GT4 worth it? Is the GTS the sweet spot in the 718 lineup? Hey, here's the thing. The Macan GTS video is going to drop tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. So when you go to these events, so flew all the way to Portugal, got a chance to drive the Macan GTS and the 718 GTS, what you do is you actually sign a piece of paper, it's called an embargo, and you agree not to give any driving impressions of the vehicle until the embargo lifts. So I can't talk about the Macan GTS, my impressions of it. I can tell you all about it, size of engine and all that kind of stuff. I can't tell you what I think about how it drives until tomorrow at 6 p.m. Now the 718 GTS 4.0 will be a week later. So not tomorrow, not Monday, the following Monday. So unfortunately, as part of the deal, when journalists go to these events, you are under embargo with your driving impressions until the embargo lifts. So I would love to tell you all about my impressions of the 718, but the 4.0, but you have to wait one more week. Does that make sense? So the reason that they do that, and the reason why car companies do that is, so every day there's a new, what they call wave of journalists. I think we were wave number 2, and it goes for over 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks. So every day, there's another batch of journalists, anywhere from 25 to 30 journalists coming in, driving all the different cars. And they don't want to give the early journalists an advantage getting their stories and their videos out into the marketplace. So what they do is they wait until the end of the program, and then everybody has a chance to publish at the same time. That's the reason they do it. Hey, Zach, what's your opinion on YouTubers who promote a lifestyle of expensive cars to younger audiences? I think too many young men go into huge debt because they think it's normal to buy these products. Well, I think it's a big problem with social media today anyway. I think it's for young men with buying expensive cars is an issue. I think it's even worse for young women seeing, these beautiful, young, perfectly made up women who are gorgeous, living this fantastic lifestyle, and they're thin and fit and all that kind of stuff, and people have this crazy ideal of what beauty is, or all those sorts of things. I think for a lot of women that's really, really tough to see that there's all of these beautiful people traipsing around the world. For cars and guys, you guys are more sort of like status based. It comes to objects and having more toys than the other guy. Here's the thing is, hey, listen, I was guilty of this before social media even happened. I always had nice cars. I borrowed money to have nice cars. Here's the thing is, your bank balance will keep you in check with what you can afford to buy, and so will your bank manager. If you can't afford to take a big loan, if the bank says you're not allowed to take that much money, it's probably for a reason, because you don't make enough. So I think most people are pretty sensible about that. But yeah, don't follow what people tell you. Make up your own mind. Whether it's somebody telling you to stay at a certain hotel because they've got a pretty girl in a bikini, or YouTubers telling you which car to buy. Buy the car you can afford. Hey, Zach, do you think that Nissan will likely go bankrupt? Not only do they have declining sales, mounting CVT issues, but also fleeing CEO. I ask as I used to really like them at one point. I think that Nissan is in a bunch of trouble right now. They need to really focus on 3 things. And the 3 things are product, product, product. Product, product, product. Those are the 3 things they need to focus on. Because if you have good product, you can sell cars. For example, General Motors and Ford came out with their sales numbers recently. And Ford and General Motors were down. The losses are mounting. But then you go over to FCA. What does FCA come out with? They come out with a home run pickup truck, the Ram 1500 and the heavy duty Ram 2500 and so on. They've won all of these awards. They have, without question, the nicest looking outside and inside, and arguably the best driving pickup truck in the marketplace. And they're selling tons of them. And FCA is making money. So based just on that one truck can help the bottom line. Nissan has to get out of this hole by coming to market with a brand new Rogue, like yesterday. The Rogue has been left far too long on the vine, a new Pathfinder. The vehicles that people buy, they need to come out with SUVs. But this is a worldwide company with the Renault Alliance and Mitsubishi. I think the big issue is that they have to get some new leadership with Carlos Ghosn now out of the picture. Well, he has been for quite a while, but there's been a lot of executives that have left and gone to other brands. Speaking of FCA, here's a perfect example. The former president of Nissan Canada, his name, a Frenchman named Christian Mounier, who we got to meet many times being on different events. Then he got hired to be the head of US sales. Then he got hired to be the head of Infinity, major promotions, but the wheels started to fall off, and now he has left, and he's now the head of Jeep. That's a big job. So you can see these people have options to go to other car brands, and I think that's what's happening. I don't think they're going to go broke. I mean, it's too big a company. They're selling over 10 million cars a year worldwide. Hey, Zach, or whatever your real name is, wink, wink. Congratulations on the big announcement. Will we see Lacey on Motoring TV too? no, you won't see Lacey on Motoring TV as well. For those that don't know, I mean, a lot of people do. I was the host of Driving TV for 17 seasons. Lacey joined us, I think, around the 3rd or 4th season, and Lacey's going to continue on with that show, and I'm moving over to Motoring. Hey, Zach, any idea when they will show the next BRZ Toyota A6? I don't know, but yeah, it's kind of getting ready for that, isn't it? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So a lot of people are saying congratulations on the new TV show. So I won't read them all, but thank you very much for everybody that's commenting here. Have you driven both the RAV4 Hybrid and the new Escape Hybrid? Thoughts on them, preferences, which one would you buy? Haven't driven the Escape Hybrid yet. Yeah, I have to get my hands on that. I say hybrid, you say Toyota. Here's the thing is Toyota and hybrid are synonymous and their technology is bulletproof. It's a bit of a no-brainer to get the Toyota hybrid. I think they make an excellent product and the sales are showing that. And I'm hearing stories of having to wait months to get a RAV4 hybrid. Raj says, will you still be posting videos? Of course, nothing changes. By the way, I'll go through the structure here. So, the TV show that I did, Driving TV, was totally separate from this channel, okay? And what happened was about 10 years ago, just less than 10 years ago, we were shooting the TV show all the time. I was writing newspaper articles for the local paper here, the Vancouver Sun, and I was getting all of these cars every week, but we weren't shooting every single week. And then I thought to myself, well, why don't I learn how to shoot? I'm a good photographer. I know how to use a camera. I said, why don't I learn how to, buy the video gear and shoot the videos and do, every single week when I have a car, I can do a video. And that's how it started. So every week I would get my usual press car that I would drive, but I started doing video about it. So this was always totally separate from the TV show. It was my own thing. So the same thing's happening with Motoring TV. Motoring TV is totally separate from this YouTube channel. We are going to have some synergies. We're probably going to do some special projects together, but nothing changes. You're still going to get all the updates and videos you get here on a weekly basis. New Macan GTS coming tomorrow, okay? My Infiniti Q50S got hit and the insurance gave me a new BMW 330. I'm shocked by how harsh and low ride. Doesn't have decent power considering it's a 4-cylinder. Well, your Q50 is a 6-cylinder, and this is a turbo 4-cylinder. This is Josh, by the way. Josh, always here every week. Thanks for being here, Josh. Too bad about your Q50. Yeah, it's different. I think that it's probably one of those cars, the more you drive it, the more you'll appreciate what BMW is trying to do with this car. I think that, yeah, you would probably be a better candidate to compare your Q50 with the 340, which is an amazing car. So I think one of the things that you're probably noticing are the run flat tires, which can be kind of hard. And that's one of the complaints about the Infiniti car is it was a bit too soft. So not a true performance car, a nice everyday car, but now you're getting in the BMW and feeling that it's a bit more performance oriented. What I would suggest you do is live with the car for a while, and you'll probably start to feel a better connection with it once winter ends and you get out and drive and have some fun with it. It's a very good car. What are your opinions on the 2020 GMC Acadia? I like everything but the dang push-button gear selector. Yeah, you know what? From what I remember, over at Chevrolet, they don't have it on the Chevy product. So that's something to consider. So try out the Chevy and see if you like that better. I do like a lot of General Motors products. I mean, a lot of people crap all over domestic manufacturers saying they don't know how to make good cars. That's nonsense. A lot of the North American cars that I drive are fantastic. And you know, one vehicle I'm always telling people to try is the Chevy Equinox. And I think, you know, it should be in the mix with a lot of those small SUVs because I think they do a good job with it. So yeah, try the Chevy if you don't like the push-button gear selector. Why do most manufacturers use turbos rather than superchargers on their engine? That's a good question. I don't really know the answer to it. It's probably less expensive to make it. That's probably one thing. Maybe easier to tune. I really couldn't answer that. It's a good question. Next time I get an engineer, I will ask that question. For example, we were on the GTS launch in Portugal, and I have the engineer that's in charge of the 4-liter flat six that's in the Cayman and Boxster GTS, and I asked him the question. I said, how do car companies come up with the size of the engine? Why does every car company have a 2-liter turbo? It used to be at one point it was 2.4-liter engines were really in vogue. Then it was 3.6-liter 6-cylinders. I said, how do car companies sort of all seem to land at the same size of engine? And he kind of gave me some explanations. He said one of the reasons is taxes. So certain jurisdictions have certain size engines based on road tax. But the other thing is the size of the piston and the spray of the injector. Certain engines have a much easier time getting a better burn in the cylinder, which was one of the reasons why they go to different sized engines. So yeah, next time I get a guy like that, I'll ask the question, okay? Switching from a 2016 Tacoma double cab to RAV4 Prime. Wait until 2-3 years before purchasing such a vehicle until bugs worked out. Living in New Zealand, I believe, used the weekend hockey, I'm not sure. Oh, Newfoundland, sorry, St. John's, Newfoundland. Used as a weekend hockey and soccer taxi for the kids. So the question is, should you wait 2 to 3 years before purchasing the Toyota RAV4 Prime? I would say no. I think that it's probably going to be just fine. Toyota has a very strong reputation of bringing vehicles to market, and they're for the most part, the bugs are worked out. You're taking an already an existing RAV4 hybrid platform and putting in a larger battery with more range, and that's really what you're doing. Having had a chance to drive the Prius Prime and then the Prius, it doesn't really feel any different except for when you're driving on that pure electric range. So if you are somebody that is resistant because of that, then do exactly what you're saying. Wait 2 years. Plus, I'll tell you what, you'll have a much better chance of getting one, because I guarantee you when the Toyota RAV4 Prime hits the market, there's going to be long waiting lists to get them. And probably because the supply is going to be quite limited initially. Does anyone want to go back to 2010 and do not have access to DeLorean? Oh, I don't know what that means. Would a GT350 be a good second car to use every day in Edmonton? Our other car would be a midsize SUV like a Grand Cherokee. We will be starting a family soon. It wouldn't be my choice, I tell you that. I think a GT350 is a fantastic idea for anybody. That's the Ford Mustang, by the way. The Ford Mustang GT350 is a fantastic car. I don't think it would be my choice as a daily driver in the winter. Yeah, you could put on really good winter tires and you have the traction control, but that car has so much power, and I just love the sound of it. I just love that car. I love it. So I feel you, dude. I think that it's a wonderful car. It would not be my choice. I don't think any sort of like Mustang or Camaro or anything like that in Edmonton, yeah, you could get by with it and you would learn to drive it and you could do just fine. But, you get a big pile of snow one day and that's not the car I would choose. But a GT350 is a great idea. You know what? Maybe buy a GT350 and then buy a beater, a winter beater, and park that in the summer. Sound good? Grand Cherokee, by the way, is a great choice. Do all plug-in hybrids, sorry, I jumped around here a second. Do all plug-in hybrids and electric cars use the same plug? No, they do not. What you have is Tesla has a different plug. The sort of standard that most manufacturers use was actually developed by General Motors. And most have a certain kind of plug. There's lots of videos you can find on this online. But no. But here's the good news is, when you buy a plug-in hybrid, for example, you always get a 120 volt plug that you can get some power into it if you need to. Is the 718 Cayman GTS with the 4-cylinder turbo still a sound purchase? Between that and the new one, wait till next week. Congratulations on Motoring TV. When is the first episode airing? So I did shoot the Macan GTS for Motoring, And I think Brad Diamond, who's the host and owner of the show with his wife Isabel, I think it's going to be going to air within the next 3 or 4 weeks. So that's good. What is your view on the quality reliability of the Mini, I guess, Clubman or any of that line? Mini has not had the same quality as other vehicles. It's a little below average, but the thing is, in an index of pleasure to own and repeat owners, it scores very highly. So people are willing to put up with the quirkiness of owning a Mini because they're just so fun to drive. And they have a road feel that is really not replicated anywhere else in the industry. They've got a look that's hard to emulate. I'm not a fan of the interior. I always say that someone barfed buttons all over the dash. It's a bit of a hot mess for me. But if you like that sort of like quirky Mini interior, then go for it. But know that, no, it's not going to be at the same level of reliability as a Lexus or a Toyota, but you're probably going to enjoy driving it. And people, so below average in terms of quality, above average in terms of owner satisfaction. Does that make sense? Hey, Zach, what do you think of the Alfa Romeo Giulia? Is it worth the risk? Thanks. A great lease vehicle. That's my advice. I would lease that. So you might want to try one and then probably get some great deals. Oh, by the way, which brings in carcostcanada.com. I suggest if you're looking at a Giulia, go to carcostcanada.com and sign up and use the promo code MOTORMOUTH, and you become an expert member. It opens up a whole bunch more new searches for you, which is good. And what you can do is find what kind of rebates and incentives there are on a Giulia, and also what the dealer paid for the vehicle. Alfa Romeo cars, they're just not selling in the numbers they had hoped. Same with Fiat. So I would guarantee you there's going to be some kind of incentive on a Giulia, and you'll get the best indication as to what that is by going to carcostcanada.com. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH, get in there, do the search for the Giulia. You'll find out what the dealer paid for the vehicle, and there will be incentives on that for sure, okay? And lease it. By the way, when it comes to getting a car, I had somebody emailing me this a week or so ago. Do not, when you're in the dealer, say to them, I want to lease the car at the beginning. Always negotiate the price of the vehicle first. We'll pick a round number. $30,000. And you go in there and you say, hey, I was on Car Cost Canada and it's $2,000 off from the manufacturer. Great. Price is now $28,000. And by the way, whenever you see an incentive from the manufacturer, the dealer is not paying for that. The manufacturer is. So then you can ask for a discount from the dealer. Say, hey, Bob's dealership, what are you going to do to get me to buy this car? Maybe they'll drop it another $1,000. Now you got $3,000 off. Hey, and by the way, any kind of loyalty, because this is our second car here, see if you can negotiate the price down. Once you've negotiated the price, then you say, I want to lease it. But don't go in there saying you want to lease it. Negotiate the price first, because that lease is based on the negotiated price. A lot of times they can fiddle the numbers around to give you a better lease, but you're really just paying for it at the end, or paying more if you want to buy the car. Eric says, hey, Zach, crazy that LeaseBusters charges you $300 to list your car on their website and they don't even have an app. Better off listing it elsewhere. I would disagree with you. Where are you going to go for them? Is the #1 marketplace for lease takeovers. So if you want to, get your vehicle off your books and onto someone else's books, that's what it costs to get it done. And the thing is that, yeah, you can try and get somebody to take over your lease. I was on Facebook. I was looking at a used car, and someone said, oh, take over my lease. Well, no one's looking for that on Facebook or on Craigslist or Kijiji. So LeaseBusters is the place to go, because that's the #1 lease marketplace, takeover marketplace. So I disagree with you on that. Full disclosure, I do work for Car Cost Canada, as you know, and they own LeaseBusters. But having worked on the LeaseBusters side of the business as well, I disagree with you. Hey, Zach, do you compare the steering feedback and feel between the G20 M340 and the Macan S? I don't know. I mean, one is a car and one's in. The thing is, Porsche invests in a more advanced steering rack. Okay, they call it electromechanical. So Yes, it's electrical, but it has a more sort of direct feel. Put it this way, of the modern Porsches that I've driven in the last few years with the updated electromechanical steering, I have never ever had an issue with like it's numb and it doesn't have good feedback. Just not the case. So yeah, that's what I can say about that. They invest in a better steering rack. The M340 was, I thought it was great. The vehicle that I noticed that had a better steering feel than the 340 was the X3M, which has a different steering rack and so direct and linear. It felt like you were driving a go-kart. I can't believe that the X3M cornered and handled and felt so good. So that is the rack that they use from the M3, I believe, which is different than the M340. So yeah, there are some differences there. I think they're all fine. Hey Zach, what's the best place to see Canadian auto sales figures? Cheers from London, Ontario. What I would do is, probably the best place to find auto sales figures is to go to the business section of the newspaper, like if it's the Financial Post or the Globe and Mail business section, the first business day of the month, or the second or third day. Because what happens is all of the car companies announce their sales on the first, and then the next day there'll be an analysis of that, typically in the business section of the newspaper. So that's the best way to find it. Now, the person that does the overall analysis of the Canadian marketplace is somebody I've had on my radio show for many years, Dennis DeRosier and Associates. And when you read those articles in the business section, they often quote DeRosier and Associates. So you could type in DeRosier and Associates. I don't have the exact spelling in front of me, but Dennis DeRosier puts out a monthly sort of state of the car industry, and you can get the numbers on through the newspaper, or maybe even go on to the DeRosier and Associates website. So that's what I would do. I like loudspeakers. How do you see the minivan market? Well, I think the minivan market shrank for so many years and people rushed towards SUVs, but there seems to be some players that sort of have stuck it out and now have found a following. Dodge Grand Caravan, bestseller, hands down. Inexpensive, bulletproof for the most part. They perfected, the transmission issues they had years ago. The 3.6 liter Pentastar, it's going to do the job every single day. Then you go up market, and the only other ones that I really consider are the Honda Odyssey, the Sienna, and the Pacifica. And they're all sort of a premium van. I'm not a big fan of spending a ton of money on minivans. I look at a minivan as a box on wheels, and I'm a firm believer is spend the least amount of money on a box on wheels, because all you're really doing when you're spending a lot of money to get a fully loaded Odyssey or Sienna or Pacifica, it's just more leather and bells and whistles on the inside. It doesn't handle any better, it doesn't perform any better. So get the least expensive one with the nice features. I would want 2 power doors, a power lift gate, backup camera, Bluetooth. That's it. So I like the Dodge Grand Caravan because it's inexpensive, incredibly inexpensive in the used marketplace. Buy one that's 2 years old and get it for pennies on the dollar. Drive it, enjoy it, and it'll probably be a great van. What's your opinion of the 2020 Sonata? I think it looks really cool. I saw it, the place we pick up and drop off the cars every week. I saw it there. I have to book it in, but I think it's really cool looking. I have to get my hands on it. Go back to the minivan for a moment. Chrysler has announced they're going all-wheel drive with the 2021 Pacifica. I believe it's 2021 Pacifica, which then joins the Sienna as an all-wheel drive van. Any news on the updated Toyota Sienna? Are they planning on a hybrid version? Well, you have to sort of extrapolate what's been going on in the market over at Toyota. Now, they're never going to tell me directly, but we can sort of figure this out a little bit. So Toyota has announced clearly that they want to have every single vehicle in their portfolio electrified by 2025. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be just a pure battery electric vehicle. It's going to have some form of electrification, either hybridization, plug-in hybrid, make it a prime model, make it a fuel cell vehicle, or a full battery electric vehicle. The most logical is to go hybrid. Now, you look at the size of the Sienna minivan, and there are common mounting points in design with the Highlander. Highlander is just coming to market now with the new 4-cylinder hybrid system. So you would think the Sienna is definitely getting due for a refresh. And yes, there's some common touch points with those vehicles. It would make sense that they could then package the same technology in the new Sienna van. We have to wait and see. As I mentioned, they're not going to tell me, we're going to have to wait. But if you can do the math on this, so here it is, it's already 2020. The 2021 models will be coming this summer and fall. So then there's only 3 or 4 years between now and 2025 before all the 2025 models are announced, and they're going to electrify them all. So yes, Sienna will be coming. When it is, I'm not sure. Hey, Zach, do you think the Corsair is overpriced? I'm talking about the lease price for a pretty good one. It's about $900 per month, and the X3 will go for maybe $100 more. This is where these car companies really have an issue, is that BMW, Mercedes, Audi, so forth are all so aggressive with their leases. They have done a great job of managing their residual value. Pick a round number, $40,000. 3 or 4 years later, it's worth $20,000. So they know that that vehicle is going to have 50% of its value after the 3 or 4 year lease term. These new models from brands like Lincoln or Cadillac, they have to really work to get their residual values up. So that's one of the reasons why those big brands have such sales strength, is because they have such good residual values. So yeah, it's $100 less a month. Then if you like it, get it. It's not going to change. I mean, you're still paying $100 less every single month. Multiply that by the 24 or 36 months. It's $2,400 or $3,600 cheaper. But be prepared that at the end of it, there might not be any equity in it, and you have to give it back. Or often with the German brands, there's maybe some equity still in the lease. Hey, Zach, any news on the CR-V hybrid for North America? I've asked the same question as well. It's out there. It lives. I've seen it in Europe. And why they're not doing it, I don't know. I heard that it could be coming for the US, but not for Canada. So once I get in front of the people at Honda, I'll have to ask them that. But yeah, I'm hearing the same thing. No change yet. So what they did for 2020 is they gave it a mild facelift. So if you look at the RAV4 and the cadence with the CR-V, the RAV4 has been out with a brand new model now for just over a year. Came out in around Christmas of 2018. So if you look at how the patterns typically go with RAV4 and CR-V in the past, which means we're probably going to be getting an all-new CR-V in not too distant future. That would be the time for them to bring in a hybrid. And you think about how successful the RAV4 has been with their hybrid technology, and the sales are just about 25 to 30% now hybrid. Yeah, it would make sense for them to do that. So always look at when I don't know exactly what the year was. Off the top of my head, I think it was 16 maybe. So go back and look at when they brought in the all-new RAV4 and when they brought in the new CR-V, and what the time difference was. If it was 18 or 24 months, that's kind of the cadence we're going to see for the next one. Hey, are Toyota Venza any good? Are there big differences between between the 4 and V6? It's a great product. I think it sold incredibly well in Canada. It sold incredibly well initially in Canada. It didn't sell very well in the United States. And I think if they brought it back and they raised it up, put cladding on it, outbacked it is what I like to call it, give it that sort of cross-country outback kind of look, I think the Venza would sell incredibly well. It's huge on the inside. It's based on the Highlander platform, which is a modified Camry platform. It's very wide, big back seat, nice cargo area. If it was me, I would get the 4-cylinder. One thing to consider, depending on where you live, the wheels are 20 inches, I believe, on the V6. So be prepared that if you're going to get winter tires, you might need to get 20-inch wheels and tires, or downsize them to something a little bit smaller. Here's another question. Will the Toyota CHR hybrid be coming to North America? Driving down the highway in Portugal, drove right past the Toyota CHR hybrid, and I'm thinking, well, there you go. So I think, yes, as I mentioned, I don't know exact answer as to when it's going to happen, same thing again. Toyota has committed to electrifying their fleet of vehicles by 2025. Now, just look down at the dealership next door, which is Lexus. And the NX, which is based on the same CHR platform, is available with all-wheel drive, and it is a hybrid. So it makes total sense that when they decide that they're going to update the CHR and give a new model for us, it will be coming with the all-wheel drive hybrid system. So it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, because it's on the docket, they have it, and I almost guarantee it'll be coming. Just don't know when. X7 versus GLE. I went with I want a 7-seater luxury or better suggestion. These are both very expensive vehicles. And here's the thing is, I think that the Mercedes-Benz inline 6-cylinder in the the 480, 450? I'm trying to remember the number. I only drove a little while ago. But anyway, the inline 6-cylinder with the e-torque, with the launch torque from the 48-volt system, I thought was better in that large execution versus the inline 6-cylinder in the X7. So I would say you don't need to get the V8 if you don't need to with the Mercedes-Benz. Here's the thing. These are both excruciatingly expensive, like $100,000 plus vehicles. If it was me, I would get an Audi Q7, which is maybe just a little bit smaller, but a lot less expensive, like a lot less expensive. So if you're not using that third row all the time and you don't really need that mass, then the Q7 is a pretty good way to go. Even cheaper again is the Atlas from Volkswagen that has a huge 3 rows. They're all very, very big. And then on the domestic side, vehicles like the Lincoln Aviator, and then the full-size SUVs from the Expedition, the Navigator, all of them are very, very good. And the new General Motors trucks are coming in, like the Escalade was just announced. So there's lots of things to choose from, but probably for me it would be Q7. All right. Is a Mazda XC30 recommended vehicle for a young family? You have to take the car seats and the strollers into the dealer and put them in the vehicle to make sure that the kids are going to fit. Car seats and strollers and diaper bags take up a ton of space. Probably you're going to find that the CX-5 is a better fit for a young family. Now, if it all works for you, if your kids aren't in car seats really anymore, it could work perfectly fine. Does Mike still film for the channel? No, Mike is not. He has a brewery that he owns and runs in Kensington Market, so he's focusing on that. What do you think of the new F-Type? I have to wait till I drive it. How is the NVH of the new Golf 8? So that's the noise, vibration, and harshness. So you ever see reviews where they talk about NVH quality as the noise, vibration, and harshness? The Golf 8 didn't really feel much different from the Golf 7. That's what I can tell you. It was fine. It was good. And I think the Golf 7 is very good. So there you go. Can you elaborate on the Jeep? Love the Grand Cherokee, but concerned about quality. The Grand Cherokee is a vehicle that scores very well. Customer satisfaction is high. I did an interview with Dave. What's Dave's last name? He's the head of J.D. Power and Associates. He does the quality studies, or his group does the quality studies. English guy. What's his name? Anyway, I've done interviews with him on the radio many, many times, and I asked this specific question about the Grand Cherokee because I like it so much. And he himself drives a Grand Cherokee, or he did recently. And I said to him, so is the Grand Cherokee good? And he says, all of our studies come back and the Grand Cherokee scores very, very well. So there you go. Dave, oh, it's going to drive me crazy. I could look it up on my computer, but I'd have to turn away from this. So yes, the Grand Cherokee is a real strong vehicle for Jeep when it comes to quality. It's been out for 10 years now, so you think they've got the bugs worked out of it? Yes, they have. What else did I want to say about Grand Cherokee? But no, just Jeep and FCA generally, their quality scores have come up a lot in the last few years. They were always a bottom feeder, and they've battled up, and Jeep continues to rise. So take that for what it is. Dave, 2020 A4 versus 19, other than facelift, update, and infotainment system, are they the same powertrain? Powertrains remains the same. And this is one of the vehicles that I absolutely love to drive. Every single time I drive the A4, I love it. It's a really good all-round car. It feels light and tossable, fantastic turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, really good automatic transmission. So they changed the look of it on the outside, new front and rear clip, and they even changed the body panels down the side. Not loving the way it looks. Looks a bit Jetta-ish, if you ask me. The infotainment system now is touch sensitive. Before it was controlled with the MMI controller in the center. And the reason they went to the touch sensitive is because people are using Android and Apple, and the vehicle comes standard with that technology. So when you plug your phone in, you want to be able to access those touch points on the screen without having to go through the controller. So if you don't use Android or Apple, the 19 is exactly the same, and I think looks better, but take it for what it is. Hi from Sweden. Hey, Herr Mordu. Did I get it right? What do you think about Volvo's? I had a girlfriend once who was Swedish, and every time I said, hey, Herr Mordu, she always said, you sound like an East Indian guy. And I go, hey, Herr Mordu. But there you go. Or tak is thank you, right? Or hey is hi. What do you think about Volvo's? I like Volvo's. And speaking of turbo, we talked about turbocharged and supercharging earlier. They have the turbo supercharged 4-cylinder engines. They're fantastic. I think my biggest problem recently with Volvo has been the infotainment screens have been a bit buggy, but they've seemed to have cleaned that up. They've got new processors in the back end, and it's much faster. It's not as quirky. Volvo certainly has paid attention to the infotainment system and improved it a lot. Interiors are beautiful, wonderfully designed cars. The XC40, in my opinion, is, along with the Q3 from Audi, the best in that small SUV space. Love the fact that they have station wagons in our marketplace. So yeah, big fan of Volvo, and I'm glad they're updating their infotainment screens. How big a challenge is the 2021 Atlas going to be for the Honda Pilot? They're going to be updating, I believe, the Atlas. So the Sport Cross is out now. That's the 2-row 5-passenger version, which makes you believe that whatever aesthetic changes they made to the Atlas Sport Cross is going to spill over to the regular Atlas. It comes down to just pure size. If you need the most space, the Atlas is going to be it, for sure. I can't wait to drive the Highlander. There's one coming, and I'm going to get into it as soon as I can. And I'm going to do a comparison video with the Pilot, with Andrea, and we're going to get into which one we like better. I like your wife's reviews and your son too. Well, that's very nice of you to say. My son was in the, what did we drive? The Z4 down to Seattle. Hey, love your channel. Which sedan is best for long distance trips between $95,000 and $120,000? Well, that's easy. The Porsche Panamera, the Audi A7, the Audi, I think Porsche Panamera. If I was going to go on a long distance road trip, I would, we had an Audi A7, and it was fantastic on the highway for long road trips, except for the fact that the seats, after about 3 or 4 hours, you needed to take a break. Now, with the Porsche Panamera, that isn't the case. So if you ask me, you get to choose a large sedan and you want to do a cross-country bomber, hands down, it would be the Porsche Panamera. Wow, you're already back from Spain. I think it was in Portugal, but it doesn't matter. Did anybody drive the Carrera GTS? No, we drove the 718 Cayman and Boxster GTS. Did you go around the track at all? Yes, we did. What are your impressions of the new GTS from Porsche? Now, if you're just coming in now, I mentioned earlier, when you go to these events, so yes, we flew in on Monday. We arrived on Tuesday. stayed overnight outside of Lisbon near Estoril, got up on Wednesday and went to the track and got to drive in the countryside, and then stayed overnight and then came home. But our flight was canceled in Amsterdam. So we had to stay Thursday night near the airport in Amsterdam and then fly home on Friday. So yeah, I was gone for pretty much the whole work week, but that's how those European trips go. You fly in, you stay overnight, you drive the car, and then you fly home. So all I can tell you is there is an embargo on the driving impressions of both the Macan GTS and the 718s GTSs. The Macan GTS video is coming out tomorrow, and then the embargo on the 718s will be 1 week later, okay? Peter Norris says, what's a good watch to start your collection? Here's the thing is, I get people asking me, I'm a watch collector as well. I have a channel called Watch This, and I'm terrible at doing videos because I'm so busy doing the car stuff. But there's some videos over there if you want to watch. So type in Watch This, and you'll hopefully find the channel. So I get this question a lot. Here's the thing is, buying a prestige watch, which is what most watch collectors sort of gravitate towards, my best advice is to save until you can afford a good watch, because a good watch is a good investment. Not good watch is, or sort of not a not good watch. There's plenty of watches that aren't expensive, but that are quite good. What I'm saying to you is invest in a watch that will hold its value. This is a big purchase. So buy a watch that will retain its value, because if you ever need to sell it or get rid of it, you want to get that money back. It's like buying a good car. So a great first watch is a Speedmaster Professional, the Omega. That's the man on the moon watch, or man on the moon, as Archie Luxury says. So a Speedmaster Professional is a great watch. They've been making them for over 50 years. You can find one in your price range around $3,000 to $5,000. And another great watch to buy is a Tudor. A Tudor Black Bay is another first really good watch. And you can buy them used, and they're certainly much cheaper than they are brand new. Have you driven the Honda Type R? What do you think of the new blue color? I think the Civic Type R is a fantastic car. I just thought it was amazing. It's just so good. And yeah, they've redone the front nose a little bit, and they got rid of the fake grille sort of pieces on the front. And yeah, blue. I like blue. I love blue. It's my favorite color, so I'm with you. Thoughts on the ICBC changes? Once again, for those that don't know, I live in British Columbia. Here in Vancouver and through British Columbia, we have sort of a state-owned insurance company, the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia, and they're going to a no-fault system similar to other jurisdictions. Like Ontario had no fault since around 1990, I believe. And so what happens is when you get into an accident, say you get a rear ender and you've got some soft tissue, sort of whiplash, you get a set amount, okay? You can't sort of have a tort claim for more. Now, from what I understand is if there's severe accidents and you're sort of brain damaged and you're going to need constant care for the rest of your life, so those tort claims are still going to be able to go forward, and to be able to get insurance coverage to look after somebody that's maybe in a wheelchair or something, some serious accident, you're still going to be able to get compensation over and above what the set claims are. But I think I'm kind of in agreement with this. I know sort of first and second hand stories of people who have been in minor fender benders. They hire a lawyer, they go after the insurance company, they get tens of thousands of dollars, and you know what the reality is, they're just fine. They're just trying to get some extra money. So I think that's probably, in my opinion, not a bad thing. It's going to bring insurance costs down, which I think is also a good thing. Hoofer Legoofer, I like that name, Hoofer Legoofer. I recently watched your RX 350 video from 2010, and I'm considering one for my son. Which would you purchase? A 2010 stripped all-wheel drive RX or a front-wheel drive? Nav, Mark Levinson, same mileage, same price. Well, I'd get the all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is going to be easier to sell, Hoofer Legoofer. Yeah, front-wheel drive, sure, there's nothing wrong with it, depending on the conditions and where you live and what you're going to use it for. But yeah, I think for any vehicle, the great thing about as vehicles depreciate, the they don't depreciate at the same level. Often ones that are much more expensive, new, will depreciate as same as the base model to the same amount. So if it was me, I'd get the one with the Mark Levinson sound system and all-wheel drive. Have at it. I'm very confused in choosing my next SUV. Is the Tiguan from VW a good choice? Here's the thing you have to ask yourself. Do you need that space? So the Tiguan now has grown into being one of the biggest vehicles in its class with the ability to get the third row for only $750 more. And here's the thing. If I was going to buy a Tiguan, I would get the $750 option third row. Even though I might never use it, same thing as the previous question. When you go to sell it, I think it's going to be easier to sell the one with third row. It only costs you $750 more because there's going to be maybe people looking for that. So same thing, buy the all-wheel drive if you have an all-wheel drive option and get the third row for $750. There's nothing wrong with the Tiguan. Some people complain, and it is a bit pokey. It's not the most exhilarating vehicle to drive. Now, I'm not sure if you're in a big rush. I heard some rumors that there could be some refreshments coming to the SUV line from Volkswagen. So they have the Atlas Sport Cross, and the Tiguan came out in 2016. So here we are, 2020. It's now 4 years old. You think it's maybe ready for a facelift? Maybe some modifications? Could be. So if you're not in a rush, you might want to wait until I go to Geneva with Volkswagen for the motor show and ask some pointed questions, and I can report back to you. But hey, if you like the Tiguan and it suits your needs and your family, there's nothing wrong with it other than the fact that it's not the most dynamic engine to drive, but it will get your kids to soccer. Rogue versus the CRV. RAV4. That answers that question. The Ford 2.7 liter EcoBoost in the 150 is the best engine ever made. Well, there you go. Got that off your chest. Thank you, Blue Ribbons. Let's see. Let's see. Black dots on world map behind you. Australia. All cars ever built in Aussie were the Melbourne, Geelong, Adelaide, not Sydney or Brisbane. No. The map behind me is not where the cars are made. The map behind me is where I've been. Yes. So there you go. So only Aussie cars were made in Melbourne and Adelaide or Brisbane. Sydney or Brisbane did not. So no, I didn't go there to visit car plants. I went there, and that's where I've been. And I loved Australia, and I'm glad to see it's raining. Will you be at the auto show next Thursday? Yes, I will. It's going to be for Media Day. That's the Toronto show. The Media Day kicks off Thursday, and then it's open to the public, I believe, Friday, and I will not be there. I'm going to be flying home on Thursday night. Congrats on the new Motoring TV deal. Does it divorce you from Sweet and Sour Brian Chow? No, Brian's my best friend. Of course, he's you know, an interesting thing is we went to the Porsche thing together. Now that was booked before I made the announcement to go to Motoring. He's coming as well to the Geneva Motor Show with me. I'll be covering it for Motoring. He's going to be covering it for Driving Television. So I think I don't know, but I would think that Brian Chow is going to be sort of taking over the hosting duties of Driving TV. But yeah, we're still best buds. No problem there. We're not getting divorced. All right, let me go back here. In the beginning of Formula One racing, they stated in their regulations that the engines will not surpass 2.5 liter mark. They encourages company to develop smaller engines. Honda was one of them. Yeah, but that's not the reason why they we're talking about engines size earlier. A lot of it comes down to where the vehicle is registered and taxed. And you'll see that in Europe. Like they'll have like 4 or 5 different engines for all the different markets in Europe based on taxes. So in some markets, the tax goes up a lot when the engine size gets over 1.5 liters. Hey, Zach, do you think a 2008 Rogue should sell it at 150,000 kilometers because of the CVT reliability? Here's the thing is, if you have a now 12-year-old Rogue and it's got 150,000 kilometers and it's driving fine, keep it. I mean, take it in and get it looked at by the mechanic and decide for yourself. And here's the thing is, factor in what would it cost you if the CVT crapped the bed and you had to get a new one put in. I don't know the answer to that. I'm guessing it's going to be a few $1,000s to get a replacement or to get it fixed. but it's a whole lot less expensive than buying a new car that you've had and you know, other than the CVT, for many years to come. Somebody else emailed me this just yesterday talking about getting a Murano. They like the Murano, but they're worried about the CVT. And I said, well, factor that into your purchase decision. The Murano is a good deal. It's less expensive than the Lexus RX, for example. And hey, you might drive it for 10 years and then the CVT starts to act up. And if you have to replace it, well, factor that into the purchase decision or get it under warranty longer, and those sorts of things. I used to get this all the time. People, because I love the Grand Caravan so much, this was when they used to have transmission problems with the Grand Caravan. I said, how much does a Grand Caravan cost? Back in those days, you get a brand new one for like $18,000. I said, the car owes you nothing. Say you have to put a transmission in it 10 years later and it costs you $3,000. It's still way cheaper than buying a new car. So if the car is running fine and you like it and you want to keep it, but you're worried about the CVT, well, factor that into your budget. It's so much less expensive often to get it fixed than to buy a new car, paying taxes and all of the things you have to do when you get a new vehicle. Japanese brands have more residual value than German brands. Not exactly true. Some mainline brands do, like Toyota certainly wins so many awards for that, but German cars do very well as well. What time is it here? Oh, we're kind of running out of time. Do you think Volkswagen will bring back the diesel engines? No, they're going all electric, man. The ID cars are going to be coming in the next couple of years. Hey, Zach, can't remember seeing a review of the Forte 5. Is it worth a look? Now, here's the thing is, I haven't done the Forte 5, but I have done the Elantra GT, okay? So same technology, different skin, all right? I really do like a lot of the Hyundai and Kia vehicles. And here's another example of vehicles that people don't consider, but their quality scores have gone through the roof. Kia, #1, I think, for 2 years in a row. They've been top 5 for years. Their quality scores are second to none now in the industry. So I have no problem recommending Kia and Hyundai products because they have done a great job when it comes to quality scores. So if you like the Forte 5, get one. What are your thoughts on the Cayenne 3-liter diesel for long-term reliability compared to the hybrid offering today? All right, let me just close this for a second because I want to show you something. I just happen to have it on my little dashboardy thing here. Where is it? There it is. I have a Cayenne diesel. That's my car. That's our car. It's mostly Andrea drives it most of the time because I'm driving other vehicles. But I have a Cayenne diesel, okay? And I love it. I was getting it washed today, and so it depends on how. Here's the thing: is the vehicle, when they did the update to get the emissions fixed, they added on a much longer warranty. For example, my SUV, because it was brand new and never driven, it was sitting at the dealer lot for about 1.5 years. It just sat there. They started it and drove it and washed it every month or so. But other than that, I think it had 100 and something kilometers when I got it. It was never registered. So I'm the first registered owner. So the warranty kicks in for 10 years on that product, okay? So if you're shopping for a used Cayenne 3-liter diesel, find out when the warranty card was punched and then factor out. So if it's 4 years old, you still have 6 years warranty on all of the major components. And that includes the fuel line, all of the fuel pump and everything going into the engine, the valves, the fuel injectors, the exhaust treatment, all of the major mechanical parts of the vehicle are covered up to 10 years. Now, you're not going to get that with the hybrid because they didn't have the issues with the hybrid. So you're asking a guy who owns a Cayenne diesel what he thinks of it. I love it. So do your research, find out how much extra warranty is available, and drive them. Some early versions, people were not satisfied with the update. Ours was done before it even drove off the lot, and the drivability is absolutely fine. It doesn't get the same mileage it did before the update, but all things considered, it still gets great fuel economy, and it's a wonderful vehicle to drive. So drive a few of them, find the one you like, and find out how much warranty is left in it. That's the one I would get. Well, you know what? I don't get to all of the questions, but I do read them all. So just so you know, I do read them all. And we're running out of time. On a flight tomorrow to Toronto. Got meetings there with the Motoring TV gang, going to the press day at the Toronto show. I will be back here next week, and the Macan GTS video is going up tomorrow. The following week is when the 718 Cayman and Boxster GTS video will be going out as well. So that's all the time we have for today. Thanks to everybody who watched. I'll see you next time, and we'll see you right here next week. Take it easy.